Hello there. I hope you all had a happy Christmas and a happy winter solstice. It is now the 28th of December, so we're just going to go into the new year in a couple of days, into 2018. Very exciting. So I have a question here that I'm going to respond to. And the question is from Humour is Good 444. So thank you, Humour is Good 444, because this is a great question. And the question is, recently I posted a question as to whether Gaia intends to maintain a 3D representation of herself following the ascension to 4/5D. May we assume that the 9 believe that the 3D framework of Earth will remain for those choosing to continue on that level? If so, is that 3D representation an apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic expression, or a healed post-Illuminati Nephilim framework where 3D is experienced as it was generally meant to be? For example, is the DNA of humans returned to a full activation with extended lifespans, etc., in that 3D expression? So, breaking your question down, and I have asked the 9 for some help here about responding to your question. So the first little bit, recently I posted a question as to whether Gaia intends to maintain a 3D representation of herself following the ascension to 4/5D. So the 9 responded, it's not necessarily Gaia who would intend this. Gaia as a planet would intend this, although Gaia as a planet does have intention in the form of creating a trajectory. This is created, this is a merge between humanity and the geological consciousness of the actual planet, as in the two-dimensional realm. So we're looking at crystals and rocks and trees. All of these create a trajectory. So one could say that Gaia does have an intention, but it's not necessarily Gaia who would intend to maintain a third dimensional representation of herself. The intention of maintaining a 3D representation of a planetary body is actually a natural phenomena or occurrence. Obviously, there is intention within natural phenomena. What I'm saying here is, even if Gaia has on a linear level, has a trajectory into some other form other than 3D, when looking at the natural occurrence of reality, there will be a 3D representation, regardless of the intention of the planet or of humanity. There is a 3D representation of a planetary system, just as there is a 3D representation of a human system or a non-human system, any life force. So the 9 said there is always a 3D representation of any planet or structure. However, some of these 3D representations of planets are dormant and some are online and activated. So what they were showing me there is if a 3D representation of a planet is dormant, it wouldn't necessarily be observed by anyone or anything or any consciousness structure outside of the oneness, the unified observation. The unified observation sees all. But unless there is an observation from an individualized construct other than unity, then that particular 3D representation of a planet can't come online as a potential or a possibility, yet it is a potential. It's lying dormant, waiting to be observed, because within its trajectory, within its most probable reality, probable timeline, observation will occur. So when observation has occurred of that planetary system, then that planetary system comes online and is an activated planet. So there's always a 3D potential, if you like, for any planetary system or consciousness structure. The intention of Gaia, so Gaia that we know, that we live upon, the intention of Gaia will be different within each dimension. So there's a 3D Gaia or Earth, a 4D Gaia, a 5D Gaia, a 6D Gaia. There are different planetary systems, different planets, if you like, within each dimension, and each intention from that planetary system as a body, as a consciousness, will be different in each dimension. Each dimensional aspect of each planet that is Gaia is always in a state of evolution, ascension, or devolution, descension. So it's as if Gaia as a planet, or Earth as a planet, on the one side is going up the scale and is ascending and evolving. So the intention is for that to occur, or that planetary system is descending, devolving. So it's going up the scale and down the scale, all at the same time. There will be a third dimensional representative of Gaia. There will be a 3D representative of Gaia when this, when the ascension to 4D stroke 5D has taken place, if you like, which from one perspective, it already has taken place. That has already happened. There will be a third dimensional representative of Gaia. However, it will not be the Gaia that we know now if we are in a state of ascension. Because if we are ascending ourselves, then the Gaia that we know, the Earth that we know, is also ascending if we are ascending, because we're in harmony with our planetary system. So we, the ascending ones, won't see or experience that 3D version of Gaia in the way that it would present as fully third dimensional. What we will be in is a merged reality that is third dimensional and fifth dimensional, or the other perspective is that there will be a splitting, as I've spoken about in the Silver Solstice series that I did just before Christmas, that there will be a splitting of these worlds, and there will be a 3D Earth and a 5D Earth, and one makes a choice which Earth they are existing upon, or hold their consciousness within, if you like. So it will only be the same Earth or Gaia from those who choose to remain upon the 3D planet. So those who are not in a state of evolution or ascension at this point, as in they are in a state of evolution and ascension, but they're not moving through that upgrade or that transformation at this period in time in our, current time period, this 2012 through to 2017 through to 2021, this period, those who are not going through an ascension process in that period, they will remain within a third dimensional Earth or a third dimensional Gaia. But we won't experience that if we're in a state of ascension. So the answer to your question, the first part of your question, does Gaia intend to maintain a 3D representation of herself? Gaia's not the one that's the one consciousness that's making that intention, but yes, there will be a 3D representation of Gaia, and the intention will be coming from the newly birthed 3D Gaia. It's not coming from the Gaia that we know. She isn't intending to create a 3D version of herself. Her trajectory is evolution and ascension from the perspective of those who are also on the trajectory of evolution and ascension. Those who are on a trajectory for descension and devolution, they are projecting a different intention, and Gaia is projecting a different intention for them. So we've got a splitting of reality here, a splitting of consciousness, polarizations going on. So I know that this is a bit of a convoluted answer to your question, but it's not possible to give you the fullest answer and only answer your question on a 3D perspective. So I'm giving you different perspectives here based on the information I got from the 9. So may we assume that the 9 believe that the 3rd dimensional framework of Earth will remain for those choosing to continue on that level? Well, that's pretty much been answered, but I will just let you know what the 9 said here. This is certainly an accurate assumption to make. However, we, the 9, do not have beliefs regarding Gaia's future, just simply observations of possibility and probability fields. The most likely outcome will be that the 3rd dimensional framework of Earth will remain. However, it is the framework only that will remain. The content within the 3rd dimensional reality on Earth will change. Even the 3rd dimensional Earth is in a state of change. So one aspect ascends through 4D and into 5D. The other aspect remains within 3D, but is still in a state of evolution. And the other aspect descends into devolution. So there's still flux, there's still change all the time. And if you look at the energetic of reality, nothing stays still. If you are clairvoyant, if you can remote view, if you are empathic when it comes to energetic structure, you will be able to feel and see and decode the fact that there is no stillness. There is stillness in the sense of peace and thought, but that is a creative point. There is stillness in a creative point, and that's pure potential, but there is no stopping. Nothing just goes still, as in stops. There is stillness, but even within that stillness, there is flux, there is potential, there is something. Even within 0 point, there is something. 0 is an amount. 0 is a number. It's still something. It's not nothing. So there is never any nothing. There is always flux. There is always movement. There is always change. But the answer to that part of your question, the 9 don't have belief regarding Earth's future or regarding anything. They only have the observation of trajectory and of timelines and of possibility and probability fields. So it's more about seeing potentials and assisting with the creation of potentials. There is no belief within the 9, and this is where we are going as well. And when you find that you become 5th dimensional in thinking, people will say to you, do you believe this, or do you believe that? And you will think about belief and what belief means, and you will realize that you are losing belief itself. That's a whole other subject. If so, and so the answer is yes, there will be the 3D framework of Earth will remain for those choosing to continue on that level. The answer is yes. If so, is that 3D representation an apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic expression, or a healed post-Illuminati Nephilim framework where 3D is experienced as it was generally meant to be? So I'm breaking that question up into 2. Is the 3D representation an apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic expression? Answer to that from the 9 is yes. The 3rd dimensional representation within Earth's future timeline along the most probable 3D trajectory is that of an apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic expression. And evolving into, out of this apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic expression, there is an evolution into a healed post-Illuminati Nephilim framework where 3D is experienced as it was generally meant to be. So both of those are in the trajectory field, but not simultaneously. Well, they are simultaneous in a non-linear reality and in a quantum reality, but in a linear reality, they are within a linear trajectory, and it is the post-apocalyptic framework that comes first, followed by the healed post-Illuminati Nephilim framework. But you also said in your question, as it was generally meant to be. So the 9 have embellished on that by saying 3D is experienced as it was generally meant to be. This is accurate from the 3rd dimensional perspective only. From the 3D perspective, Earth was infiltrated, freedoms were taken from the people, distortions were presented, hijackings took place, and humanity's energy was consumed by non-physical races and physical races who could not access the codes needed to sustain their life force. So from a 3D perspective, that is not how a 3D planet is meant to be experienced. We are not meant to, on a linear perspective, from a 3rd dimensional perspective, we are not supposed to experience infiltration and distortion and have our energy consumed, etc., etc. This will no longer be the case within the new post-apocalyptic Earth. Therefore, in answer to your question, yes, from a linear perspective, from a 3D perspective, the post-apocalyptic Earth presentation or Gaia presentation will not hold this. That's why it's post-apocalyptic and healed Illuminati. Therefore, it will be experienced as it was generally meant to be, from a linear perspective, from a 3D perspective. From the 5D perspective, Earth has been experienced exactly as she was meant to be experienced. This was the great design, the great plan, the great game. Each of you are players within that great game. Each of you that have polarized within service to others are the game changers or game masters. The game is played according to your wishes, for the game is your creation. So from the 5th dimensional perspective, Earth has been experienced exactly as she was meant to be experienced. Everything that has happened was meant to be. From that perspective, a game has been created. It can sound quite, it can sound quite demoralizing, really, to say that this reality is a game. From the 3rd dimensional perspective, it is demoralizing, and it's not true. There's no game in this reality. It's our life, and it's very, very serious. From the 5th dimension, we are looking from a different dimension. We are interpreting different codes from a different reality. And from that perspective, and in dimensions beyond, and that there will be different perspectives in higher dimensions, but from that perspective, this is a created construct that was created to give opportunity to souls within their overall growth and individualization. So it's almost like designing a computer game. And we'll have the goodies and the baddies, and we'll have this adventure, and we're going to have this protagonist. And we're the protagonist, and we project ourselves into this computer game. And then we get to the point where we realize we're in a game, and then we become a game master or a game changer, and then we start to direct the game ourselves without being the person sitting with the controller. The character itself, the avatar itself in the game, starts to create its own path within the game. That's kind of like the metaphor. So from the 5th dimensional perspective, Earth has been experienced exactly as she was meant to be experienced. And that is a difficult one for people to get their head around. And if you can't get to the 5th dimensional perspective and you don't understand that perspective, or you reject it, then that's fine. There's no hurry for you to have to embrace that. And yes, it is true from the linear reality that it's not a game. We were infiltrated, and it's okay to live within that perspective. But if you live within that perspective only, you don't become a game master, and you don't get to control the game, because you will be in a state of victimhood. You will see the Illuminati as individuals that have enslaved you. You will move into battle mentality. You will move into hatred. You will move into all sorts of conflicting and quite negative emotion. Normal. And you're supposed to experience this. The issue is, do you stay there experiencing these emotions, letting them drag you down and drain you of your life force? Or do you move into a perspective where you embrace the simultaneous, multi-dimensional viewpoints? Because if you can embrace both, it will help you. But you don't just jump from one to the other. And I've said this before in the Silver Solstice series that I did. You don't just jump from third dimensional thinking and leave that behind and go to fifth, because then you do become uncaring. There is no compassionate feeling there because you've lost touch with the true reality that we experience on a physical level. We go into both. That way we do experience the victimhood and the anger and the mistrust and the disillusioned feelings and the hatred, but we rapidly transmute them, and then we take those feelings and we use them as something that propels us into action. They give us this fire within, and it isn't anger and it isn't negative fire. It is fire that allows you to take action and make changes within your reality. And you do this on a consciousness level and within your daily action and your interaction with people. So the next part of your question, for example, is the DNA of humans returned to a full activation with extended lifespans, etc., in that 3D expression? So the 9 said full DNA activation does not necessarily mean extended lifespan, that you know it as. So we know extended lifespan as people living well beyond 100 years to maybe 200 or 300 years old, or even 800 years old. Extended lifespan does not necessarily mean full DNA activation. That's a tough one. So does that mean that some individuals could live a long time and not activate their DNA? Very rare, but possible, yes. Full DNA activation does not necessarily mean extended lifespan. So does that mean that there are individuals who will fully activate the DNA and won't have a long lifespan? Rare, but possible, yes. Full DNA activation takes one into the 5th dimension, so 5D, automatically. Therefore, you wouldn't be in 3D anymore if you move into full DNA activation. You'll be in 5D, because that's what full activation, DNA activation is. You might not retain your extended lifespan on a physical level, but what the 9 is saying here is full DNA activation takes one into 5D automatically. Lifespan in 5D is a conscious choice. So you are not subject to an unknown life plan to just die, to go through the death experience without any awareness. It's a choice. It's always a choice, but it's not a conscious choice from the physical level within a 3rd dimensional reality, unless that 3rd dimensional reality is in a state of merge or splitting or separation, and there is a 5D activation going on. So lifespan in 5D is a conscious choice. You choose consciously when you go and how long you live for. You make that choice when you are fully in a state of DNA activation. So this is the full DNA strand formation. Full DNA activation takes one into 5D automatically. So you're no longer in the 3rd dimension. Therefore, those remaining fully within new 3D Earth reality, so those remaining fully within the 3rd dimensional Earth reality, will be free to move through an evolutionary ascension path and will be in varying degrees of DNA activation. So those who choose to stay in 3D will be in varying degrees of awakening. They won't be in 5D and they won't be in fully activated DNA, and they may be fully merged in 3D, but some of them will be the higher echelons of 3D, the mid echelons of 3D, the lower echelons of 4D, the mid echelons of 4D, kind of how it is now, really. That's kind of where we are now. But the difference is right now there is a collective ascension evolution going on where a great many are moving to the 5D expression at the same time. In the new 3D Earth, that will happen again, but that won't happen on a linear level for many, many, many years. So there will be individuals that will be going through an ascension process. It won't be a collective ascension process for a long, long, long time until the next cycle comes round, I guess. Therefore, those remaining fully within new 3D Earth reality will be free to move through an evolutionary ascension path and will be in varying degrees of DNA activation. Extended lifespans will occur for some of these beings. So you will soon begin to see individuals living much longer with much better health. But this is not an absolute for every individual within new 3D Earth, or for those with full DNA activation in a linear physical sense. So on a linear level, from a 3D perspective, on a physical level, extended lifespans will occur for some. So some of these individuals will live longer and will have better health, and we'll soon see individuals that are living longer than we've ever known before. This will start to become apparent in our immediate future or near future or future within I don't know when, but it's not a long time. It's within the next 3 years, let's say, as a wild guess here, looking at the energies. Extended lifespans will occur for some of these beings, so you will soon begin to see individuals living much longer with much better health, but this is not an absolute for every individual within new 3D Earth. So even if you're in a post-apocalyptic, healed Illuminati Earth, where there's no infiltration, one isn't necessarily going to start to have extended lifespans, but this certainly looks as though that is part of the evolutionary path for 3D Earth. But it's not an absolute. Neither is it an absolute for every individual within new 3D Earth, or for those with full DNA activation in a linear physical sense. So those with full DNA activation may not necessarily have extended lifespans. Why? Well, the 9 went on to say, those who do achieve full 5D activation, full DNA activation within this 5th dimensional reality or consciousness, do also achieve immortality. So they're not necessarily achieving extended lifespans on a physical level, but they are achieving immortality. Memories are activated, processed, and the being individualizes with those memories, regardless of whether they choose to move through a death experience, death of the physical body, or not. They remain immortal, for the memories are taken through the death experience, and death to birth conscious transfer is achieved, should reincarnation be the choice, or angelic incarnation, non-temporal birth as a choice. Either way, the soul self remains individualized and eventually becomes a creator God, known to you as a star. I know that this question has brought up a whole load of new questions, especially with that last paragraph, and I am in communication with the 9 about what they mean by all these things, and these messages and information will be made public and will be delivered to you by either more videos or another book or however, talks. But I'll just go through that little bit. So those who do achieve full 5D activation, full DNA activation, also achieve immortality. Memories are activated, so that's a part of immortality. They're processed, so that's a part of immortality. And the being individualizes with those memories, regardless of whether they choose to move through a death experience, death of the physical body, or not. So they're still immortal. Immortality does not mean that you will stay within the same physical vehicle forever and ever and ever. That is not what immortality means. That's what it means on a linear level or from a 3D perspective. Immortality is immortality of the individualized memory matrix. So as a soul, I am individual. I remember being Magenta and I remember being this person, and I've retained my individuality. I've retained my memories. This is what we're striving for in Ascension. Because the other option is to go through a recycling, a fall system, a fallen reincarnational wheel, coming back in with memory gone. Now, we either may hold memory intact if we're on the star-seeded journey to activate at a later time, which is what all the star seeds have done, or we lose that from our soul completely, never to be regained. It becomes part of the all. It's never lost, but it isn't part of an individualized structure. So you're starting again. And our aim, in fact, all souls aim to individualize and become an individualized structure. So regardless of whether you choose to move through a death experience or not, you remain immortal, for the memories are taken through the death experience. You don't lose them. And death to birth conscious transfer is achieved. So you consciously project those memories and that knowledge and that awareness into the new incarnation. And it isn't necessarily done from an outside force, if you like, from the angelic perspective. It's done from your perspective as the incarnating soul. And Ascension is about you remembering this from the physical perspective, remembering that you are all these different structures and all these group souls right up to source. And you hold all that within your memory fields as a physical incarnated being in 3D. That's Ascension, and all the star seeds have done this. All the star seeds have projected their memories forward, most of them consciously. Some may have had assistance from the outside perspective, if you like, but they will have been souls that haven't had 3D incarnations before. That's a whole other subject. All the star seeds will have done this in some form, which is why every starseed will feel, A, I've done this before, B, this is my mission and I was meant to do this, and C, I'm not from this place, I'm from somewhere else. All those feelings will be within every starseed. Death to birth conscious transfer is achieved should reincarnation be the choice. So reincarnation is not a choice for someone who's gone through a fall system and gone back into the reincarnational line without memory, without individualization. It's a trapping system, and that's what's happened here. So the trapping has gone way beyond the third dimension. It's right throughout the fourth dimension. The reincarnational wheel is a fourth dimensional platform. It's not fifth dimensional, it's fourth dimensional. So anyone falling through that system, and that's not to say that the fourth dimension is all a fall system and is all bad, because it isn't. There are pathways to higher frequencies within 4D as well. There is unbound beauty within 4D, but there's also the trapping system. Although, having said that, this has begun to be dismantled as the 3D structure, infrastructure of the core of the Cabal, Dark Magicians, Service to Self, Energetic, Illuminati. As the infrastructure is dismantled, so too is the matching infrastructure within 4D. So there is a dismantling going on, hence why you will have your choice, because you're not going through a full system. And if you're in 5D, you're already outside of that system. And the hope is that we take our brothers and sisters with us and release them from the trapping system as well. That is the ascension for this planet, and that's our trajectory, that's our heartfelt goal as starseeds, is to take everybody with us. But those who do go through a fall system back down into that fourth dimensional trapping, it's not their choice. So when they reincarnated here against their will, hence prison planet. For those people, yes, they're trapped here and they can't get out. That's what ascension is. It's freedom. It's not just freedom on a 3D level, freedom from an enslavement coming from the government or shadow government or secret societies. It's not the deep state and the cabal. It is that, but it's outside of that too. This is deeply magical trappings going right through on very deep levels, and it needs to be uncovered and uncovered and uncovered and uncovered, and you are going right into the core, and they are protecting that core. But the star seeds are with the open hearts that they have and the light that they have, those cores are becoming obvious, they're being seen, and they're being dismantled. That's what's happening right now, and has been happening over the winter solstice period. And that was what the whole winter solstice, silver solstice series was about, and it was decoding and analyzing the transmission about this. So they remain immortal, for the memories are taken through the death experience, and death to birth conscious transfer is achieved. Should reincarnation be the choice? So yes, you can choose to reincarnate. You may well decide you want to come back here. And I'll give you a tip now. If you feel vehemently, no way am I coming back, no way am I coming to this planet, be very, very careful that you are not in resistance. Because if that's how you feel, if there's an instant utter rejection of 3D, of ever coming back here, you are in resistance, and that resistance will take you back into the trapping system. You cannot be free if you are in resistance to that structure. The way to do this is to actually feel, I don't mind coming back to this reality. I might. It's great. There's wonder here. There's beauty here. I'm okay with reincarnating into 3D. Because I'm at the stage where I can choose my life, and I will choose an awakening and a spirituality, and I will choose connection, and I will choose to have my memories, and I will go into that reality as an individualized structure. You are immortal when you are an individualized structure. You can go anywhere. You can't be broken. You can't be hijacked. You can't be taken apart. Nothing and no one can take away your individualization. It's only you that does this. It's only you that does this. Even those who go through the fall system into the trappings of the fourth dimension, that's because they haven't found that activation. So therefore, they're not at the level where they can make the choice from a conscious level. Once you make a choice from a conscious level, you can go anywhere. So you're not in resistance to any dimension. You're happy to be in all dimensions. And from another perspective, there will always be a 3D version of you anyway. But that's a whole other subject. So from a linear perspective here, reincarnation becomes a choice when you are DNA activated. And you don't need to be in full DNA activation to be able to make a choice regarding reincarnation, because the freedoms and energies of the entire planet allow choice. So does that mean there will be third dimensional individuals that will be making a choice? Well, yes, once this planet, and it depends which 3D, whether they're coming from a 3D Earth or a 5D Earth, but there is a freedom. The Nine said to me the other day, liberty is the present. They said this to me around Christmas. So the Christmas present to us as starseeds, liberty is your Christmas present. It's your gift for this time of year. But liberty is the present also means liberty is now. It's not the future, it's now. So we have liberty as a gift, and we have liberty now, because present is a gift and present is now. So we have liberty, and that doesn't just mean freedom from the Illuminati elite or from the mainstream media control or from our own shadow. It means freedom from the whole created matrix and a connection to the heart matrix. So many people talk about the matrix and the created reality And there's two ways to look at that. One, it's a false system, it's a trapping system. The other, it's a beautiful created organic structure. So we have to be aware we don't reject any of these concepts and throw the baby out with the bathwater. So should reincarnation be the choice, or angelic incarnation? So what's angelic incarnation? And the 9 said non-temporal birth. So what I'm seeing here is a birthing into a non-physical reality. So it doesn't necessarily mean that's 3D, 4D, or 5D. What this means is it's non-physical. It's difficult to give a dimension to that, but if one were to give a dimension to that, well, it would be at least the higher echelons of the 4th dimension. More than likely, it would be 5th dimensional structures and beyond. So you can choose this. You can choose to be born into an incarnation that lives in a non-temporal reality within a higher dimensional field. Either way, the soul self remains individualized and eventually becomes a creator God, known to you as a star. So eventually, this structure that we are becoming, that we are transmuting and transforming into, is a creator God and a star with individualization and a choice. Now, I asked the 9 about the star, and from a linear perspective, when we look up to the sky and we see stars, they are fully actualized, evolved consciousness structures, group souls. That's what stars are. To us, in 3D linear reality, they just look like planetary bodies in the sky, but they are consciousness structures at that level. Now, if we were to look at that in a more multidimensional sense, us becoming a star is us having celestial consciousness. So we hold the consciousness of the star. And what is so wonderful, the 9 tell me that we don't need to leave this physical body to access celestial consciousness and become a star. We can do this right here in this physical body. That's what ascension is, and that's what we're doing. So just want to say thank you to Humour is Good 444 for such a brilliant question, which has opened up a wonderful dialogue with the 9 and lots more expansive topics and responses from them. So thank you for asking that question. I love it, and I hope you liked this video, and I'm wishing you all a very happy new year, and I will see you again soon. Bye.
We are now at a time in our planetary evolution known as ascension. Those individuals we can call starseeds are currently in their millions and are collectively going through this awakening process. In this book, the 9 bring forward memory triggers designed to act as a catalyst into the awakening process. They present a model of working with the individualized matrix field, known also as the Merkaba, through matrix architecture, Merkaba magic, and the golden triad of ascension, presenting an in-depth analysis and explanation of the twin flame consciousness and how this relates to the ascension, as well as providing triggers to the collective memory experience known as Atlantis. This transmission is designed to trigger your multidimensional memory as you begin the construction of the Merkaba matrix and embrace the inner archetype of the architect. The triggers contained within this material are there to assist you in accessing the codes for the new formation of the original crystalline DNA matrix. I, Magenta Pixie, am so happy to present this transmission to you from the White-Winged Collective Consciousness of 9. Divine Architecture and the Starseed Template.